Hey guys, Ron here, and once again, I brought together 3 other artists, gave them a prompt, and we all had to create some Pokemon that embodied the description I gave them, which was Convergent Evolution. In the real world, Convergent Evolution is when 2 completely different animals evolve similar traits, kinda like the regional fakes in Gen 9, like Wiglet. It looks like a Diglett, but is a completely different animal. The job of these artists was to create 3 Fakemon that look like 3 real Pokemon, but have completely different types, lore, and anatomy. Now we're finally gonna reveal our Fakemon to you guys and each other. Let me introduce these amazing artists. Once again, we got Jack from Subjectively, and since we don't want to separate family during the holiday season, I invited Claire from Subjectively as well, also because she's another fantastic artist. And finally, new to the series is Deadbed Spread, another Poketuber that creates Fakemon as well. Check the description for the links to these wonderful artists. Now let's finally see the results. But before that, consider leaving a like if you enjoy so I know to make part 7, and check out my Pokemon art playlist which has tons of videos like this one, where I create new Pokemon. Dave, you're up first. Are you ready?
I guess I am.
You have to be.
So as the theme given was Convergent Evolution, I fell back on my biggest meme of the year, the minor similarities shared between crocodiles and horses. There's only one horse Pokemon that has really stood out to me over the years, and that's Mudsdale. I ended up mixing its influence with some prehistoric galloping crocodilians. Crocodiles can blend in amongst floating foliage, so I wanted to give this guy massive seaweed-style dreadlocks to blend in. They're not actually plants, it's just the ultimate camouflage. It also gave it that wet hair look, like the mythical Kelpie is often shown with. Even got a tiny bit of unicorn in there with the horn, as well as keeping Mudsdale's mohawk through its unique spike pattern. The colours were a little monotonous and screamed grass type a bit too much, which wasn't really what I was going for, so I ended up changing that off screen to reflect a more swampy, prehistoric nature. Have a go of this.
Oh my god!
Ooh.
That's really good.
Wait, mine's not loading. No.
Oh, Jack, that's so embarrassing for you.
No, hold on. I have to restart.
Jack, you would really like this, actually. This is very Jack core.
Yes, okay, it's here. Oh, nice.
This is exactly what I wanted people to do, so this is cool.
Oh, that's such a creative idea. Oh, and I love the shiny as the color scheme. Oh, that's great.
I know, this shiny is really
I'm
great.
a big fan of shinies that like throw back like all the Hisuian starters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Hisuian shiny Decidueye.
Yeah.
That's
Regular color mode, yeah.
It's so obvious. Why didn't I do that? That's so cool.
So, you're probably wondering, why did I make a horse into a crocodile? At the start of the year, Scarlet and Violet were announced alongside the starters. Me being a Zodiac head, decided that Fuecoco wasn't some sort of snake or a bull. Fuecoco was, in fact, a horse.
I can tell you he is not, but you go on.
It all makes sense now.
So then that was kind of...
Oh, and they eat apples. Okay, that makes sense. You're right.
So there is a mythical creature called a Kelpie, which is...
Oh, I was gonna ask if it was
yeah.
Kelpie.
Yeah, I
Definitely
saw that.
getting that.
So, like, a thing that lives in water that eats people with big teeth and is long snout. That sounds like a crocodile. You know, like,
Yeah.
people always, like, debate whether Loch Ness is, like, some kind of dinosaur, reptile, or a Kelpie, which is a horse, you know. So that's, like, the crocodile-horse debate going on in real life. Now, you might notice as well, Mudstyle's ability is Illusion.
Of course.
I literally just looked at the name, by the way. That's the perfect name.
So sometimes when I look at it quickly, I'm like, Mudslide.
Not bad.
That works too.
It does. There used to be these species of crocodilians, you know, Iberosuchus, Caprosuchus, all the suchuses. There's also Boverasuchus. Every single article I looked up on it said that they had hoof-like claws. So they don't have claws. They have hooves. So I'm like,
okay.
what better influence to make into a crocodile than this? Which is why in its art it is galloping.
And it's based on an animal that has convergent evolution, I guess. So that makes sense.
Well, and I love that about this because, you know, in my mind I was trying to think, like, how much do I want this, my convergent evolution to be taking something that exists in real life and trying to replicate that in Pokemon, and how much do I want it to be something that would only exist in Pokemon? And I feel like you have a great middle ground here, because basically what it is not something, like, there aren't any crocodiles alive today that have features anywhere similar to horses, but there are adaptations that crocodiles have used in the past similar to horses, like the ability to gallop and completely terrestrial locomotion. And taking Mudsdale, one of the horses that could be maybe the most connected to a swamp-like area where you'd most likely find a crocodile is a brilliant way to to marry these two ideas because they're covered in mud, lives in the swamp, and then the seaweed mane is like just kelpie right away. I was like, oh, kelp.
Yeah,
we got the Irishman here now. We got the kelpies.
I do like when people use local lore. That's pretty cool. To me, this looks like it could be like a pseudo-legendary or like legendary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. I think it's
yeah.
because there's so many complex shapes that are kind of radiating away from the main head. And also it's like really big and bulky, but also so clearly capable of running really quickly or swimming or moving fast.
It just looks powerful.
Yeah, it has a very mythic feel, which I guess is coming from the Kelpie inspiration part.
I do think it's genius how like the kelp look like the dreads.
You're also very on trend. Pokemon has made so many horse Pokemon recently, but this one is actually cool. Not to throw shade. Sorry, I just don't think they're cool.
But it does seem like
But this I love.
the trend is that like forms are now like horses.
Yeah, what? Why? I really want to know why.
Everybody has a horse. Every like ancient figure has a horse. Every like god may have a
True.
horse.
That's true. That's
It's a good
true.
partner animal.
Exactly.
It's a lot of myths and legends around horses, like a dog.
Weird that there's no Zygarde horse.
Not yet.
True.
How much cooler would Argent, Palkia, and Dialga be if they were crocodiles? I had originally decided to do a plant that mimics a rock, like a reverse Sudowoodo, which inevitably ended up being a grass type that looks like a rock type. Checking Pokemon that appear from rocks when you use Rock Smash, I was surprised to see Krabby among this group. With Gen 9 here, I wanted to give some love to a newer Crabmon, Cloth, which also just happens to be a rock type. Finding out about the crab orchid cactus, it was a no-brainer to make this guy a succulent. I ended up taking major influence from Maractus, but by the very end I changed the colours to reflect Cacnea more, just tying all the cacti together. Between the numerous deserts in the Pokemon world, it's kind of bizarre that we only have 2 cactus evolutionary lines. Until now! And here we go.
Ooh.
Oh snap! Okay,
Oh, Jack, you love him, right?
Oh my god.
His name is
my-
Growth. Are you kidding me?
You are a man after my own heart right now. Crabs and crocodiles, like, this is a good day for me. I'm really loving this.
this is Cloth,
It's
right?
Cloth.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Shiny. It's Cloth.
I did not expect anybody would do a Gen 9 one. That's great.
I know, because I was like, that's current. And
Very current.
growth. It sounds like growth in British accent. So
Growth.
you got growth in your garden.
Growth in it.
Is that a growth in your pants?
Desist. It sounds like grove as well, like a bunch of trees.
Wow, your names are good.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, what if we had like a rock smash mimic as opposed to
Oh, so
Like
instead
a-
of cut,
a
it's
cut
rock
limb, yeah.
smash.
So-
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So then I got looking into kind of rock-shaped plants, and I discovered Lithops, a type of succulent.
Oh, wow.
They're called butt plants. Also, I'll let you
I wonder why.
it should look like a Pokemon that you can find within rocks. But a Pokemon that you can find in rocks in Johto is Krabby. Krabby's
Really?
not a rock. Yeah, I'm like,
I
get out!
didn't know
What,
that.
what are you doing? Get out of here!
Huh.
Then I was looking up like crab plant, and would you believe that there is a cactus which is also a succulent called the crab orchid?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
That's
look
beautiful.
At that.
Wow.
that's really
It's
beautiful.
The Christmas cactus, I think it's also called.
I guess yeah, it looks like
It's
a
like a
Christmas
little light.
Light, yeah, that's very. Oh wow.
Yeah, a little string light.
I like when you combine, like when anybody combines like pretty things on like a more monstrous looking Pokemon.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It's not so often you get a Pokemon that's, cute, but still, like, kind of has more aggressive shapes that are kind of more masculine leaning.
This is obviously a cactus that is shaped like a cloth. It currently is using some of Cacnea's colors, so it is a convergent evolution that is also a divergent evolution of the cacti.
I'm not even gonna try to think about that.
I know, we don't even know what convergent evolution is in Pokemon. Like, there's too many things.
It's adorable, and it's got such a great combination of real life inspiration and something that feels unique to the world of Pokemon.
Yeah, it has a great implied personality. I love how pokey it is, but it has this really cute jagged smile and the implied blush marks. It's so adorable. I really want to be its friend.
I'm so happy to hear that, because that's the goal of Pokemon.
Yeah, of course. It does look like a Gen 9 Pokemon. Like, not just the fact that it looks like a Cloth, but it looks like this would be a Gen 9 Pokemon.
Yeah, I could see that too.
This is interesting because you picked a Pokemon that doesn't have an evolution, and you made your own evolution.
You can always go bigger.
More crab.
More crab.
Oh, is this gonna be like a coconut, or not coconut crab, like a Japanese spider crab? Because I don't want to look at those.
It's not a crab, it's a cactus.
Oh!
So originally, Growth was just going to be a funny little guy on his own, and Mudstyle was going to evolve. But I switched that up pretty last minute. You also notice that the colours of this guy changed right at the end, just like its pre-evolution. It's too early for us to know as of recording this, but if a Convergent Evolution style Pokemon ends up evolving in a similar way to its original counterpart, then it should have just been a regional variant. This sort of evolution gives us all sorts of weird opportunities, so why not take them? With Growth's evolution, I took influence from even more species of cactus, gorillas, as Cloth is supposedly based on a gorilla crab, and the Heliconia plant, sometimes called the crab claw flower, which ended up giving the evolution these crazy triple-layered claws. All of these things together resulted in a mon that could be modern day in terms of design complexity, but very early Pokemon in terms of what it actually is. Vague multiple inspiration monster Pokemon? Sign me up!
Oh, that's...
Oh my god.
Oh, I love this.
Oh, and I love that shiny. Oh, those are great colors. Okay, this is great because this to me has that quality that so many newer Pokemon have where it would look so cool in 3D with all of the animations and that
Yeah, I was gonna
metal
say,
claw
the way it
opening up.
moves.
I love the body shape. Like this, the
Yeah,
exact
me
segments
too.
that it has, I really like.
One thing that came up when I was researching like crab plant,
Oh, whoa.
Heliconia.
How are you finding these plants?
It's really vibrant.
I wish I could animate.
I told you guys to animate your Pokemon. I thought that was part of the deliverables.
You don't have that?
You don't have that?
that for us right now?
Oh no, I didn't realize it was April.
3D render and full animation.
It's also based on the Mexican giant cactus. Cloth it has like bits of hair on it, so people are like,
Oh,
yeah. Is it a gorilla crab? And I'm like, okay, so let's give this guy like kind of gorilla arm proportions. And then it kind of kept
He's juiced.
it kept evolving, and then like the eyes have kind of like a sugar skull-esque pattern to kind of tie it back to the Mexican giant cactus.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
The kind of lore of Growth is that like it evolved to climb cliffs to like get closer to the sun. Once it's close to the sun and it gets a sunstone, it becomes a grass fire type. Usually grass fire types, and it's usually based off like a pepper.
Yeah.
Who would do that?
Who subjectively? But I was like, okay, so I took the abilities from Maractus, and I'm like, water absorbent storm drain on a fire type.
Oh my
Yes,
god.
please.
Yes.
Oh
Wow.
I was looking at that storm drain. That's a little bit scary.
Oh my
A little
god.
scarier than an 11-foot cactus.
That's why it's hidden.
Is that like what's on the top? That's just like flowers. You're saying?
So I did actually Google, can you eat like crab orchids? Technically, yes, you can. They won't kill you.
That's my favorite answer. Technically, yes.
But they're very fibrous, so they will come out the way they came in. To put it lightly.
Sounds good to me. So like this is
something.
exactly the kind of like progression that I like when in an evolved form in terms of proportions.
The shapes and the palette are really making me think of folk art.
Yeah.
In a way that's very like comfortable
yeah.
and familiar.
Yeah.
I like that it's not ominous. Like a lot of spiky red and yellow shapes would normally be really scary looking, but it doesn't look scary. It just looks
I'm a fan of the funny guys.
yeah. He's a good funny guy.
It looks festive to me. Like it's coming to town and it's gonna do some good stuff.
Well, it is somewhat based off a Christmas cactus. So
Oh yeah. So yeah. Okay.
All the different cactuses.
it is every cactus at once.
Every cactus and crab and gorilla.
Yeah.
What a great combination of things.
I think that's it.
Oh my god, I've never felt such relief.
Yeah. Right.
You did it.
I'm so envious.
Claire, it feels so good. It feels
I'll get
so
there.
good.
I'll get there.
You'll get there.
So my turn.
Go off, King.
So I decided to make a bug-type Pokemon that's inspired by the pill bug that looks like Graveler. Instead of big arms, it'll have big antennas that look like arms. It's basically a roly-poly, so it'll have a shell. Originally, it looked a little too much like a Graveler, so I made sure to give it more wide-set eyes and even mandible lips. During my process, the eyes were too wide apart, and I made the antennas a little too arm-like as well. So in the final version, they are more segmented, the colors are more natural, and the eyes are closer together.
Ooh.
Oh my god!
Graveler.
We almost ended up doing the same thing with the Rock Smash.
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh, it's perfect, dude.
So it's like a little roly-poly that can roll
yeah.
around just like Graveler. But if like there's no way to escape, like to roll away from an enemy, it'll just like perk up, and its antennas they look like arms basically. So they're kind of intimidating. So yeah, those aren't arms.
Such a good
So
idea.
good, dude.
Those are antennas.
That's such a good
It
idea.
really is.
And then because of that, like flying rock and fire types stay away from it, which are its weaknesses,
Yeah.
because they think it's a rock type.
Oh, it's perfect. Oh my god.
It's way more cowardly, exactly, than a Graveler. So it's like its only options are to run away or to like pretend it's a Graveler, because it really the last resort is to attack, but it doesn't want to really. It's a pacifist, but it's relatively strong, honestly.
It's definitely related to Glycopod.
Exactly. So
Yes.
it literally is
Yeah,
an Isopod.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the same animal.
Yeah, Graveler is not an appealing Pokemon. It's a little too old, unfortunately. It's just hard to like, but the shapes here are adorable but still intimidating. I really like it.
Thank you.
And I love how small it is as well. Now, obviously, it's a bug, but
Yeah,
and then the
that
antenna like add so much to the size. Also, I prefer Graveler over Golem. I think that's
really?
a weird evolution. So,
I'll throw that one out there. I agree with that.
This is like chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
I'm definitely Golem Squad, but I like this more than Golem, I guess.
Well, here's why I think this is better than almost every Gen 1 Pokemon is because there's so much concept behind this. And I mean, that's the point of these challenges, to really get you thinking about character design in the context of Pokemon. But that's what so many Gen 1 Pokemon are lacking. Like Golem is kind of just a rock with a face, but this is a bug. It's pretending to be a rock. It's something that exists in real life. It's got personality. It's got a backstory. It's got context for how it exists in the world, and it's all so well done. And I gotta say, Ron, you're getting better and better with each one of these challenges at the
thank you.
Pokemon rendering style. They're coming out. So this is so official looking. This is
It
so
does look really official.
It does help that it looks like a real Pokemon, so I get it, but thank you.
It has such a good distribution of differently proportioned elements. Like it has this mischievous little face and the pillbug limbs and then the giant hand-like antenna. It's just like another thing. This would never happen in Gen 1 because there literally isn't enough sprite space to give a Pokemon like this giant antenna.
That's true.
But it's so cool.
Next, I want to make a turtle that has a rock shell and happens to look like Bergmite. But I'm starting by making a Bergmite. Then it took me more than an hour to find a face for this turtle. All I knew is that I wanted its head to be flat, but I ended up realizing this angle simply doesn't accentuate its facial features all too well. So I drew it from a slightly different perspective and gave it a more protruding head. It even has a tiny neck. The purple accent represents the edge of a turtle shell, and the rocky back mimics the spiky shells some turtles have. Here's Turtmite.
The baby.
Oh my god, that's
This
so
is
cute.
really cute.
Just like real stalactites or stalagmites, I guess. Calcium just drops on this like Pokemon's like shell, and it accumulates and becomes like rock hard. And it basically uses its flat head to just carry rocks around, like a conveyor belt in a mine.
Oh.
And yeah, they're the most important thing is that they're weak to water now. Like they're not ice type, they're rock type, they're not a Bergmite. They're their own thing. They're weak to water and therefore unable to cross bodies of water. So
Oh, yeah. Which is ironic because they're a turtle.
exactly.
Oh, that's genius.
Turtmite. I love the name.
I love that its category is rock chunk.
What was annoying is that I totally wanted to name it like Termite, but I can't.
Yeah.
Be a very
True.
different Pokemon.
It works so well because I know you're saying like it's a lot simpler, but like it doesn't need to be any more complicated. Like I see this and I'm like, oh, it's Bergmite, but I'm like, no, it's not Bergmite. This is a little
Yeah.
guy. And I'm like, oh, he's got a face and all, but it's like so clearly Bergmite, but it's then also not at all.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like literally the exact same silhouette as a Bergmite, but then completely not.
And the fact
Very
that, like, Bergmite, Stalagmite,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, it's such a like smart, intuitive design. Like you explain, like yeah, the calcium drips onto Turtmite, and it's just like how water would drip onto a Bergmite and freeze. Like yeah, it makes sense that both Pokemon would have the same body type.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested now, though, as Bergmite is a Pokemon that evolves.
Exactly.
Did you stick to Avalugg or not?
Ah.
Because I know how Avalugg adjacent you are, Ron.
I love Avalugg. I want to give more
Rightly
appreciation. So thank you for remembering that. Yeah, let's see the evolution. Because honestly, I made this whole line for the Evolve form more. Because I think the Evolve form has a really cool idea. I mean, don't expect something completely different than Avalugg, because I really like it, but it's a cool idea. Now I want to make an evolved form that looks like an Avalugg, but with an upside-down shell that it uses to carry its babies. It kind of looks like a cliff dragon. Its neck is also way longer, too. It really is a full-fledged dragon now, believe me. I even gave its head segments that look like horns. I thought its head looked too much like an Avalugg, so I got rid of the cracks. Now its head looks more like it has scaly segments, even a reptilian beak. Here is Turtlelug.
Oh,
Oh my god.
wow.
Oh.
So it basically has an upside-down turtle shell.
Yeah, oh.
Ooh.
Oh, cool. You can see the little creases on the shell on the top of it there.
It's now a rock dragon type.
Yeah.
So, and these all live in caves, and they like hoard like gold. Like this Pokemon has a diamond-like shell with like a flat top that it uses to carry the Turtmite, who are now weak to water. So, but since it's a dragon type, it's not weak to water, like its pre-evolved form.
Ah, big brain, True Green 7.
God.
That's so smart.
And you'd also think, I mean, like a rock, I guess, wouldn't float, but it's completely hollow inside, so it's full of like light gases. Avalugg doesn't have a long neck. This one has like an extendable neck, kind of like Dreadnought.
Okay, yep. Turtle-ish.
It uses that to like wreck rocks in its path, so like it creates like tunnels. And it's basically it's a miner basically, so it'll find the gems and then it'll give it to its pre-evolved form, who would carry them off to like stash them away.
Oh, that's so genius.
I love that.
And the head definitely gives me like drill energy.
Yeah.
Like an icebreaker.
I doubt its head like spins, but definitely like the ramming back and forth.
I think it does now. That's a good idea, actually.
I'd love to see that.
I am so like obsessed with the way you tied in like the typings to the lore with these two. Like all three of the designs, it's like, oh, these guys can't swim, but now they can because they have dragon, or this guy's a bug that looks like a rock because like it resists fighting.
There was this episode of the Pokemon anime way back when where Ash sees a Rhydon using Surf. And everyone's like flabbergasted. They're like, how could a Rhydon use Surf? It's a rock and ground type. It hates the water. And this is just making me think of that because it's like, well, we've solved the problem now. It's not now it's Rock Dragon. It doesn't have to be afraid.
Make
of
them
water
all
anymore.
dragons.
This is like the best Pokemon ever to do Pokemon camp with because you have a picnic table right there.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's true, not gonna lie. You can put a table on them. You can all sit on top of them, too.
Stacks on stacks.
Yeah, you could put Avalugg on this guy's back and then put this guy back on Avalugg's
Yeah.
back. And it's just-
Oh no. Someone's getting crushed.
Oh, it's turtles all the way down.
That's the idea. Stacking turtles.
It's Yertle the turtle, just stacks of turtles.
No, but that's crazy because, like, yes, the whole idea is that its pre-evolution is stacked on top of it, and then and turtles stacked up on top of each other. There's a whole meme as you guys are talking about, and it's just so cool to just find that out and realize that.
Yeah, a little happy accident there.
Happy accident, exactly. Wow.
Can't go wrong with the turtle dragon.
It's a cool color scheme too. This is a really
Yeah.
unusual color scheme for Pokemon.
Yeah.
What a relief. I'm done.
I know
I'm
it
so
feels good,
excited.
doesn't it?
Okay, so my Pokedex sheet looks a little different. I just want to preface this because clean line work isn't really my forte. I do a lot of more painterly work.
Nice.
So, like, obviously the new Pokemon style is very, very clean, and I kind of like cheesed my way around this. So I'm going to start with my single stage, but it's very like Gen 1 retro looking. For my single stage form, I wanted to make a Pokemon that mimicked the established conventions of Pika clones without actually being an electric rodent. I figured a water-type Pokemon would most benefit from this deception, so I started my sketching process with semi-aquatic mammals. I tried a seal or sea lion shape first, but quickly realized that it would be impossible to make a cute seal that could compete with Spheal, so I pivoted to an otter concept instead. I wanted to use the really iconic belly-up floating pose associated with otters, and ended up giving it a secondary psychic typing so that it can happily float around all the time. Also, it's called Impotter because how could I pass up such an opportunity?
Oh my god, that's adorable.
So this is Impotter.
That exact green is so good looking. Oh my god.
So my concept was I was thinking about Pika clones. I took that motif and I wanted to create a Pokemon that would benefit from being confused for an electric type. So it's water. And I got hooked on the shape of like an otter body that's like belly up that has the lightning zigzag.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Which I really fell in love with Impotter. I'm kind of obsessed with its little feet. It's like if you think of an otter, you think of it belly up, like its big feet in the air.
Yeah.
And if it's in the water, you wouldn't be able to see that. So I made it like psychic and water, so it can float around in the air like an otter in the river.
Well, first, it's so cool that the Gen 1 art style exists, because if you're just like way more comfortable with like a more painterly style, you can still make a Pokemon that looks exactly like a real Pokemon, like this one. So yeah, you picked a very good art style for that.
I feel like this is in like the Johto section of like my Pokemon Emerald handbook.
Yeah.
It's like,
And you're like, why does it look like that? It's so different from the rest of them.
yeah.
I say this with love in my heart, but the graphic design of the time was really ugly, and I tried to keep it ugly here too. You know, just like the awkward, weird mixing of fonts and stuff.
It does. It feels nostalgic though.
Yeah,
it really
exactly.
Does.
Yeah.
It has that great feel to it, and you did a good job, I think, meeting in the middle between the simplicity of older Pokemon designs and something that could still. I think with just a few tweaks, this could feel like a Gen 9 Pokemon too. You know, it doesn't feel out of place in modern Pokemon designs. I think especially the colors in the eye and the tail give it that vibe. And I think that it was brilliant to use that shade of green because it reads electric, but you could be convinced that it's not electric either. It could be some sort of mystical energy, which is like the psychic typing.
I was thinking like electric blue-green would also make people think of like Psybeams and these really neon colors that we associate with kinetic powers.
If this was revealed during the Gold and Silver beta leaks, or
Oh yeah, 100%. I was channeling those a little bit.
It does look like that.
Come out of the cheek pouches, and they are lightning shaped. Like it is almost like constantly producing like an electric zap that isn't a zap at all. It's just
it's just
perfect.
the shape of the whiskers.
I don't know who wants to say that the name is pretty sus.
I know. Listen. I know it's sussy. I know it's a sussy Impotter. But it fits so well.
It does.
You definitely nailed both the amount of detail. There's no part of it that has too much detail or too little detail or like empty space or anything. It's like perfect amount. And also just like it's like you have the browns and the whites like a Gen 2 and Gen 1 Pokemon, but like that green still works and makes it feel more modern.
I'm really biased toward cute bird Pokemon, so I sort of instinctively looked toward cases of convergent evolution in birds for inspiration. I was recently on a weird Wikipedia spiral looking into cuckoo birds who, rather than raising their own young, lay eggs identical to other birds' eggs in an unwitting neighbor's nest to be raised by them instead. Since eggs in the Pokemon games are carried and hatched by trainers, I thought designing a cuckoo egg Pokemon would be an interesting twist on cuckoo behavior. Having my Pokemon mimic Togepi felt like a natural decision with this premise in mind. After a few sketches, I ended up with a design that referenced both the eggshell patterns and general silhouette of Togepi, but still had a unique design and personality. Here is my first form.
Oh my god!
Of course you did Togepi.
The sneaky egg!
So, this is Togeku.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
obviously it's copying Togepi. It would be interesting if there was a Pokemon that had evolved convergently, not to like trick another Pokemon in its ecosystem, but like to trick a trainer. So Togeku is intended to trick someone who thinks they have a Togepi egg into taking care of it, and then it hatches, and it's like a hungry chick that like won't shut up, basically, and it needs to be fed.
Like a cuckoo bird, I guess?
Yes, so it's Ku because of Kaku, so it's like a Kaku Pokemon.
Wow.
It read like so quickly.
Yeah.
I also love in like the silhouette corner how it just looks like the silhouette of Red looks like he might be holding something like food as opposed to Pokemon. And Togeku is like, please give it to me.
Drop it in my mouth right here.
That's why the pose is important.
Yeah, it is.
It's so cool they used like the Gen 1 Red too.
Yeah, I went out of my
Blocky.
way to find that.
Chunky
And
red.
also underrated that you literally put Japanese on your. You're the only one
Yes.
who's ever done that.
I tried really hard to make sure everything was accurate. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the evolution.
Yes.
I see the
Please do.
silhouette. It's very tempting.
For Togeki's evolution, I wanted to explore a couple different ways the concept might progress. Some of my early sketches depicted a smug personality for the evolution, like a I tricked you and I got away with it sort of vibe, but since the deceit was managed by a literal baby, a clueless, spoiled personality ended up feeling much more appropriate. I wanted the evolution, Snacku, to look like it has no brain cells and also perpetually wants a snack. I gave it a round, plump body and huge ornamental feathers, a really impractical combination for a creature that would actually need to hunt to survive. The feathers were also a great place to bring back the red and blue from the Togepi shell, which helped the evolution feel a little more connected to the first form. This is Snacku.
Oh wow. And yeah, now it looks like a cuckoo, I guess.
Yes.
Right. Like really heavily leaning into the Kaku bird influence. I was thinking about like what happens when you have this really annoying little chick that's just been begging to be fed until it eventually evolves. And I was thinking like really round, spoiled, like kind of ostentatious bird Pokemon that like would be really ineffectual if it were ever like in the wild trying to survive for itself. But because it's been hand fed by a trainer because of its trickery, it's just like this big annoying bird.
It's almost like an alternate universe where, like, again, like this looks like a Gen 1 or 2 Pokemon, but then it has a few attributes of like more modern, like just like it looks like a Mega Pidgeot color scheme almost.
Yeah. I tried to keep the red and blue from the Togepi eggshell.
Yeah.
Snacku kind of has Karen energy. Like, it
Oh
feels-
yes, she does.
Exactly.
she just feels like entitled and obnoxious and just loud and just like she's just gonna get her way. And it's like it's fine, but like, you know, that's someone else's Pokemon. I can't handle this Pokemon. Right? Like, this
It's
Pokemon-
definitely a high maintenance Pokemon.
You know, like I especially love about this how this could really be a standalone design. Like if you didn't know that the first form was, you know, a mimic for Togepi, like, and that works for the real life inspiration too, because a cuckoo bird, you know, nothing about it says that I'm the
They're
kind
pretty
of bird.
plain looking.
Yeah, it's like it's not a very exciting looking bird, but when you see the babies in the nests, I don't know if anyone's ever seen like footage of
Oh, they're
baby cuckoo birds.
huge.
Like the baby cuckoo bird is like 10 times the size
Yeah.
of the other baby birds in the nest, even bigger than the mother bird feeding it.
Yeah,
This
it's like so big that like the parent can't even physically do
you
anything
just feel
about
bad
it.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's exactly what they would have done in Generation 2 for a cuckoo. Like nowadays, I don't know, you probably would have combined it with like a
It would be so crazy now.
you'll combine it with like a con artist or something like that. Oh, like, that's what I did, for example. I made a cuckoo Pokemon and I combined it with like a con artist, right? But like this is like you
I
also
was
got
gonna say, yeah.
you just went into the mind of Game Freak in like Generation 1 and 2 and just did exactly what they would have done. But the,
So yeah, like this could be just the Route 1 bird evolution
oh really? Wow.
15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
The first one really is uncanny because it really does look like it's like a Pokemon that existed in the past that I never just encountered. Like it looks like, wow, did I miss a Pokemon that actually existed? So that's why
It's the Mandela effect Pokemon.
exactly. It's so creepy. It's creepy because of it, and it works. It's like it's an unsavory Pokemon, I guess. So it works.
Jack, no pressure.
Okay, I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. Mine are so straightforward. They're so simple.
Maybe it's because my first set of designs were a little bit more on the dark side that I wanted my single stage concept to be more fun-loving and cute. I've always had a soft spot for Sudowoodo. I think its simple design is just adorable and pretty iconic. It also presented a golden opportunity to devise an example of convergent evolution that only exists in the world of Pokemon, rather than based off of something in real life. The key differentiating factor between Sudowoodo and this Pokemon is the personality. Sudowoodo is stiff, rigid, and a little awkward looking. Trudowoodo is flowy, elegant, and virile. I wanted it to feel like a tree blowing in the wind. And I also got a little inspiration from a very old Disney animated film called Flowers and Trees. The colors of Trudowoodo were inspired by the palette of shiny Sudowoodo.
This is my single stage. Oh, server processing.
Oh, no. Oh, she's saucy.
Wait, so this is not a Sudowoodo? That's crazy.
Oh my god.
So we've already talked a little about Sudowoodo and how it is the perfect, the quintessential mimic Pokemon, obviously. Sudowoodo, if we're assuming Pokemon are living, breathing organisms, was a Pokemon that evolved to just protect itself in the forest by looking like a tree. Well, what if another Pokemon did that, but it was pretty much just a tree, because it was a grass type? Where Sudowoodo is very nervous, and, if you water it, it runs away. Trudowoodo it loves that it's a plant. It wants people to admire it, it wants people to water it, and it just enjoys being blown gently in the breeze, and it loves getting a nice little water. And so
you can really see how much it likes attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Part of the inspiration for the design actually came from this really old feature. It was called
Oh my god.
Flowers and Trees.
I've seen this.
Silly Symphony.
Part of the reason we watch it is because there's some Cuphead got some influence from this short.
100%.
Yeah,
Wow.
the silhouettes next to each other, it's almost like Red is kind of like straight-faced Pokemon training, and then Trudowoodo shows up like what you see, boy?
Wow, you are really right, though.
It's so, and I love the shiny, because it does kind of have that subtle reference to Sudowoodo's colors, but then also like with the, I assume you're going for Cherry Blossom?
Well, first, it's cool how this is literally like a pose that I would see in like a 1930s, 20s cartoon, really. It sucks that we didn't get this in Scarlet and Violet, because this is probably what fans want, honestly. That's like, it's probably the perfect concept for a fake.
Yeah.
To have the original, technically, not the fake.
You can put a hat in Sudowoodo. Something really niche that I like that you did as well is with the elbows and the knees. Just those little, like, twigs to make it actually, like, sticks on a tree.
It also breaks up the space a little bit more in an interesting way. It helps diversify it just from like actually completely mimicking the body shape of Sudowoodo.
In Emerald, in the Battle Frontier, there's a person who will actually, an NPC that you can talk to, and they say, I saw a weird sticky-looking Pokemon somewhere over there, and they're referring to Sudowoodo. And as a kid, it really confused the hell out of me that they said sticky. And I don't know if it was like a translation issue, or maybe I read it wrong. But in my head, they meant it looked like it was made out of sticks, but I never thought Sudowoodo looked like it was made out of sticks. So with this one, I wanted the arms to look like sticks.
I thought you were going to say that this looks like it would be sticky.
No.
I was really worried about where that was going.
Like, it could have sap.
Sure. A little sap.
My first concept was based around my favorite example of convergent evolution in real life, carcinization. This phenomenon, wherein animals who aren't crabs evolve very crab-like features, became somewhat of a meme over the last year or so, and is probably the most well-known example of convergent evolution. My designs would follow the regional variant trend of modifying the design of an existing Pokemon ever so slightly to better exemplify a different theme. In this case, I removed Krabby's eyes, changed the jaw, and added a few spines on the shell. These spines would be a key design element in Krabish's evolution.
I knew
Oh my
it
God.
was going to be Krabby.
Oh no, we
That's
are
such
gonna
a
have
good name.
Krabish.
Oh, dude, the first thing I've noticed, and I know Ron has noticed it too, is the silhouette of the evolution.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
easily.
That looks terrifying.
Also ridiculous.
It's a literal spider crab. Am I right?
Yeah, so
Oh!
Oh, because
when I was designing this, it was just about Halloween time. And I was thinking very much spooky. and I was thinking, a lot of creepy stuff. I wanted something to be festive, but not explicitly Halloween-y. I think the most well-known form of convergent evolution, like people who don't know what convergent evolution is, probably know about carcinization because they heard about the meme of everything evolving into crabs. But really what it is just animals that were kind of already crab-like evolved to be even more crab-like. But yeah, I wanted to...
Is a spider technically more related to a crab than, let's say, an insect, for example? I would assume, right?
But yes, I was thinking spider crabs, and more specifically king crabs, which actually aren't crabs. They are an example of carcinization of an animal that was not a crab.
Whoa!
Yeah, king crabs are actually not crabs. They evolved to mimic the shape of crabs. Because crabs' body plans are very, very well adapted to many different walks of life.
True.
And so, I also wanted to think like deep sea, bottom of the ocean, and at the bottom of the ocean, a lot of animals are just covered in spikes because it serves multiple purposes. It defends against predators, and it also helps them detect things around them because they're completely blind. So the more
These references are so creepy.
Yeah, all the references came through at once.
This is not fun. I'm not having fun.
I am.
Little crabophobia warning here. But yes, spiky, and that sort of plays into the evolution as well.
Yeah, we can tell.
I really like that you were able to, just with the color palette and a couple of spikes, and by giving Crabbish closed eyes, it really does imply deep sea.
And then the fact that it's Krabby as a water type is red, and then this thing is blue, but it's not water at all. And also, I'm a huge fan of Pokemon, where their typing isn't determined by their place.
Yes.
Stunfisk is my favorite Pokemon. That's not a joke. He's a fish, but he's not water type. And this has that energy.
I actually really like the red accents, now that I look at it.
Thank you. Yes, that's going to become more relevant in the evolution. And the evolution takes a sort of a strange turn.
How?
Well, let's see.
Is it loaded?
I was already expecting strange, and now you're saying it's stranger than strange?
The second stage in this line was not quite so much a direct parallel to any existing Pokemon, though it did share some features with Gigantamax Kingler, so I guess it's still a bit of a convergent evolution in and of itself. Between the nature of this Pokemon's natural habitat, the visual motif of the spikes, and the fact that it was just a few days before Halloween when I made it, this design became a little spooky. Crabbish didn't have much to its concept other than physical traits of real-world animals that live in the deep ocean, but I wanted Vladicrab to have more of a fantasy element to it. I used the spikes to mix in a little vampire imagery, specifically Vlad the Impaler, the actual historical figure who inspired the myth of Dracula.
Oh my god.
What does this remind me of?
Vladicrab.
This looks like a Ben 10 alien. That's what it reminds me of.
This is like a biblically accurate crab.
Yeah.
This has Ultra Beast vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very strange.
This is so good.
All the scary stuff, all in one creature. Very different from True to Widow. Very different
Just a
ends and
little
sections
bit.
here. But yeah, bring in a lot more of that red and just make it look very terrifying.
I like that this leans so far into the horror aspect. It doesn't even have false eyes anymore. It's just spikes and claws and a mouth. It's just a monster, which is really cool.
Why go to outer space when you can go to the bottom of the ocean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's so true.
That only hit me as I was saying it. I was like, that makes perfect sense. Because that's where
Yes.
most alien influence comes from.
Yeah, so many of the weirdest things you can imagine live here on Earth, and they're at the bottom of the ocean.
What this is a good example of is how much detail to put on a spiky Pokemon, because a lot of newbie Fakemon artists, when they make a spiky Pokemon, they'll just put a lot of spikes on it. But this is the perfect amount of spikes. Literally, I can't think of no less, no more, perfect amount of spikes.
And they're in different proportions.
Even though this is the most monstrous Pokemon you've made in the series, this is probably the most real-looking Fakemon you've made that I've seen.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'm very happy with this.
The eye, is that the same color as the mouth? I'm trying to
Yeah, so that thing on its head is not actually an eye. It's just a bioluminescent lure. to draw in prey, so it doesn't actually like seek out prey. It literally just sits still, and because its eye and its mouth emanate light, prey will literally just swim at it and then impale themselves on its spikes.
Whoa!
And then it just, I know it's very, very dark for Pokemon. Well, actually, not really. There are some really dark Pokemon descriptions out there.
Have you ever played the new Pokemon Snap?
I did, yes.
We do have that.
But there's
Yes.
like a diverging path in the underwater level, like one where there's like Golisopod, like in the deep, deep ocean. Like this,
cool.
Imagine this. This would have been like Subnautica almost. Like
Oh, that would be so creepy.
Oh my
We have to go
terrifying.
play Pokemon Snap after this now.
I think we do.
it's like the craziest.
Yeah, I think also, like, me taking a break from when we were on our honeymoon, like, I didn't draw Fakemon for, like, a full month, which is the longest I've ever gone without drawing Fakemon.
I know. I think
in the
since we
past
started the channel.
3 years. So I think taking a break and then coming back really helped a lot. Tip for you artists out there. Take a break sometimes.
Get married.
Go to Scotland.
Go on a honeymoon. It'll help. Easy peasy.
Go check out the previous episodes if you haven't. But if you have, go check out all of these awesome artists. Their links are in the descriptions.
I would love to step aside and let some other people do it, but anytime you want me, let me know. I'm coming back. I love doing this every single time.
I'll definitely come back if you have me.
It really is so cool just to get into someone's head.